Yeah, you. Have you ever wondered why indie horror games just feel so boring recently? Well, you're in luck because someone called Hammy, which is me by the way, if you didn't know, is gonna tell you why in the worst way possible. Now I have played my fair share of indie horror games on my other channel, and I have encountered some good ones, but also have encountered the not so good ones either. Now I have not played a lot of indie horror games to tell you why they suck so much, but I have watched lots and lots of them from back in 2014 to 2026 today. I can confidently bullshit about why they suck so much, and I'm going to explain it in three categories, starting from the game loop, the predictability, and lastly, the repetitiveness of the game. So please talk shit about me as much as you want, and fucking put my head on a stick if you disagree. Anyways, let's begin.
Damn! Look at my fucking forehead!
Game loops are very important in games, and literally is the main core of a game. If you don't know what a game loop is, I'll explain it. In game design, a game loop is the repeating cycle of actions, challenges, and rewards that keeps players engaged. It is the fundamental heartbeat of the game. That's what a game loop is for those who don't know. Also, thank you Toho Game Consultants for giving me that explanation. Now, why is a good game loop very important? Well, it's the main reason why people stay up till 3 a.m. playing Minecraft or Pokemon. It's the game loop that makes you want to stay. When playing a game, it needs to be intriguing, fun, and make you say, one more round won't hurt. That's what makes a good game loop. But nowadays, indie horror games lack in that a lot. I'll give you two good examples that I have played myself, Night Knocks and Descending. Starting with Night Knocks. Night Knocks follows the premise of the main character moving into their new apartment, but things go terribly wrong. The way the game loop is that you have to do a few chores, make dinner for yourself, open the door, get a phone call, open the door again, and then good night, you get jump scared. It's not a good game loop whatsoever, and it's really boring. It doesn't make me feel scared, nor am I having fun while playing it. Though this was the developer's first game, so me being so harsh is pretty unfair, but an alternative example would be some of the Fears to Fathom games that I have watched. It's the same thing with you doing chores, interacting with the side characters, and it being very, very slow. And I feel like Fears to Fathom started this whole trend of these games having to follow the same premise over and over again, but I'll have to play them for myself before I make any opinions on it. Now, the second example is Descending. This game was very fun. It follows the premise where you are a worker and have to go to this weird giant pit and have to keep doing shit on this machine. You have to do this for a week, and during those days you have to cover your bunker with paper because of a storm that gets worse day by day. The game loop was good. In the first day, the game was just introduces you to your surroundings. The next day you have to do shit on your machine for a certain amount of time, and by each day you're introduced to more stuff on the machine, which increasingly gets more difficult by the day. Now, I know this is not the best explanation that I've given, but you have to play the game for yourself to know what I'm talking about. The game loop made me very intrigued, and it was very fun to play. There were side tasks like recharging the generators or restarting them to make the machine start working again, which made it very scary and also stressful as well when I was in the middle of a very stressful situation. All these points made this game scary and fun at the same time, but I don't see this very often in today's indie horror games, which is very disappointing.
You just ran through my crib? Oh, hey, just ran through my crib. Hey, oh, phone no. Hey, don't get him, bro. Hey.
Nowadays, indie horror games are not that scary anymore, and I believe it's because of how predictable these horror games are. What I mean by this is that sometimes these games will have such a predictable plot that you know when a jump scare will happen or already know how the story will play out. I'll give you a few examples of this. Nowadays, if you see a game with a task system that is horrendously slow and uninteractive, you just know it's not going to be that scary or fun at all to play. This is because it's just a way to make the game last longer, and literally nothing happens in between the tasks other than a few hints of something happening near you or your surroundings. Sometimes these games will have the most obvious sign of a jump scare waiting to happen, that it just makes you wonder why even put a jump scare if it's just that obvious. An example I'll give is the game Open House that I played. There's a section where you have to turn off the lights in the backyard, and it's just so obvious that something will just run by or pop out. Horror games being this predictable get rid of the scare factor completely and just make it more of a guess when the jump scare will happen type of game, more than a horror game if anything. If these games just worked more on making the players uneasy rather than making it so obvious that a jump scare will happen, it would make their game so much better and scarier from so many. Another way of a game being really predictable is when Queso is being referenced in the game. I have nothing against the guy, I think he's a really cool guy, but it's the fact that these games are more about, hey big streamer, please play my game so I can get more recognition, rather than actually making the game be a horror experience. I don't blame the developers completely at all, because it's the best way to get lots of recognition for their work, but still, it's just so obvious that the game is for the streamer to play it more than the actual player. I feel like if some devs just made sure the game is well made and scary, then they'll get recognition from that aspect. Some indie games are known for being well made and being very scary. Some are known for their story, and then some are known for their unique gameplay. I just feel like developers need to stop doing things the easy way and actually use their skills to good use. But who am I to tell them what to do?
I don't want to do it.
For some reason, indie horror games in recent times love to just have the same system or same mechanic in their game. What I'm talking about is the task systems in their own game. I believe that if the task system is good, you're allowed to copy it or implement it in your own way. But if it's not that interactive or fun, then just don't even copy it at all and make your own version of it. What I mean by that is the task systems that I mentioned earlier are overused in so many of these horror games. They're boring, uninteractive, and just so damn slow. It does nothing with the story at all, and it's just a cheap way for these developers to make the game last longer. Usually this isn't really a big deal for beginners as they're just starting out, but if you expect people to enjoy your game, maybe copying the same mechanic isn't really the brightest idea. Another thing I'll add is the similar plotlines in these games, or the way they try to make the user scared. All of these games usually take place in a supermarket or some gas station, and even if they take place somewhere else, the way the jump scares and plot plays out are almost similar. This is how it usually goes. You start out, talk to an NPC, or just immediately start with your tasks. Something normal happens, like interacting with a different NPC, you do more tasks, and then something unusual happens. Few more jump scares play out, and they're pretty cheap as well. They're just right in your face and nothing about trying to make you feel uneasy. And then you either get chased by the NPC or the monster, or just get jump scared once more, and the end. This plot is always repeated in so many of these games that it just becomes boring of how many times it gets repeated. There's nothing wrong with taking inspiration, don't get me wrong. But if every other game is just the same, then is that really taking inspiration?
Cecil! Where is Omni-Man? Where is he? Cecil!
Are you sure?
Where is Omni-Man? Where is he? Where is Omni-Man? Where is he?
At the end of the day, all these points are just my personal opinion, and what I think shouldn't really affect how people see their work. Even if the game is not that scary or fun, it doesn't get rid of the fact that these game developers are just people with a passion working hard on their game. Unless they actually make you pay like $20, so like, don't pay $20. So yeah, moral of the story, make a shit game, be happy, and don't make people spend $20 on a game that isn't even scary or fun. So yeah, that is it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, because this was like my first time making a video like this. So yeah, if you guys have any opinions or disagree with me or agree with me, please do tell me in the comments down below. And if you guys really enjoyed this video, please like, and if you want, subscribe, please. I need this. And also subscribe to my second channel. Okay, anyways, bye.